Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. This is Matt with Option Omega. This one is for the new folks we have because we have a lot of new folks on Option Omega. One of the questions they ask is, how can I get ideas for back tests? Where can I interact with people? And that's what this video is about. So we have a couple ways, one of which is the Option Omega Academy. And the Academy is a free website. You can take free classes. There's a few paid classes on there too if you want to learn various things about not just Option Omega, but options in general. That's one thing. The other thing we do is the Option Omega show. And this is something we do every market day. And we're going to dive into one of the back tests that we had on the show this week. So let's get going. Okay, the OO show is our daily YouTube show that we do every single day, Monday through Friday. Check us out, subscribe, and you can set your notifications to get notified when we go live. This is a user-suggested backtest, and let's take a look at it. It's got a floating entry here, but nearly all the time it enters at 9:32. You can see there are a couple other times that it enters, and I do think there's a few times here. It's interesting. So let's look at the backtest. It is a daily backtest, and it's a 0 DTE. And what it is doing is running since dailies. And that's probably good because of the structure of this. It's a 35 delta and it's a butterfly. So you're buying 35 delta, selling 30 points above that, buying 30 points above the short call. So it's a 60 wide butterfly. And it does have an exit condition. And if you look at it, let's look at a replay from a little while ago. What happens is you put this on, the underlying is at 62.55, and because this is a 35 delta, as it climbs, so we climbed 13 points, you can see the value of the trade increases. Then as we fall, the trade eventually gets stopped out. Now, this is using intermittent stop loss, and so the chart trade replay is 1 minute. So it won't show the exact detail, but it will certainly give you the flavor of the trade. Now, this backtest, I'm leaving it just as is on the show because one of the things we do on this show is we test different ways of backtesting. We use different allocation types, and this one was a one lot. So it's just testing a one lot. Now, there's a whole discussion topic of the best way to backtest as far as, do you want to use fixed? Do you want to use a larger allocation than you backtest? The actual allocation you backtest? The answer is that there are pluses and minuses of each thing. So a lot of people do multiple things. The other thing that this backtest is doing is we're entering when VIX moves down and we're above the SMA. As long as these conditions are met, which is why you have a decent number of recurrences here since daily, and there's no profit condition. Instead, we're using an intraminute stop loss check, and we're getting out at $1.50. Now, you can look and see this wins about a third of the time. At least it has since dailies. Honestly, it's not bad. And what's interesting is your losers, you're getting out at $1.50. Now, why does it have $1 when I just said that the stop loss is $1.50? Well, we've got 50 cents stop loss slippage and those losses are capped. So it's basically always going to get you out at $1 on the stop loss. As you can see though, some of the winners are quite nice. So you can double, triple, sometimes 4x. And if you string together a couple winners in a row, you'd be eating good. Conversely, it can lose several days in a row too. So you got to have a decently high win rate. Your winners are about 3 times your losers, and you win about a third of the time. However, you can get a max winner that can make up a lot of ground. So when we look at the backtest, you'll see we've got all the things I talked about. We've got this floating entry here. So it just gives it a few more opportunities. Basically what the floating entry is functioning as, in this case, is an upward move filter because we have an SMA condition requiring that the backtest is above 5-day SMA before the backtest will enter the trade. So that floating entry, we could take the floating entry off. It will make the backtest run faster. It will give us less entries and it will have an impact. But my guess is it's going to be roughly the same as far as the win percentage goes. So we can do that real quick. And remember, we're running this since dailies, which started in May of 2022. And I'm doing this video in October, the beginning of October 2025. So we've got about 3 years of data here in this backtest. And as you can see, it still wins about a third of the time, but because it's running the backtest less, it's not quite as profitable. Okay, here's the original test. Again, about a third of the time capture rate. And one other thing that we could do, if we want to see what the drawdowns are a little more realistically, we could run this at a 10% allocation. What that's going to do is that's going to exacerbate the drawdowns. Now, in a case like this, the CAGR should also go up depending on the sequence of wins and losers, but the CAGR will probably go up as well. So typically I like to run backtest personally without a contract cap and see what the max drawdown is. Now, whenever you run it without a contract cap, that will bias the backtest for good or for ill towards recency, which some people may want, some people may not want. As you can see, even with floating entry, that was still a pretty quick run. And you can see it's been profitable every year. It actually, wow, this looks terrible. It looks like 25%. Well, it's just some scale contrast here because it did so well in 2022. But what I like about this backtest is it's not exactly a ride or die, and you're doing an intra-minute stop loss. So the backtester is checking on an intra-minute level. And if there was an NBBO or a trade during the minute that would have stopped this out, it will stop it out, and then it's going to punish it with an additional 50 cents of slippage. So this backtest does have a huge red flag in that the max drawdown when you run it uncapped at 10%, which is why it's good to run things uncapped, is 68%. So that's going to scare away a lot of people. But as always, this is a starting point. If this is the type of backtest that you're interested in seeing, check out the OO show. Now, let's just look at the model of this trade structure real quick, and then we'll wrap it up. Okay, just to wind this up, quick visual aid. These are not the strikes that the backtester is going to pick. I'm doing this at the end of the day, just modeling out a 35 delta, 60 wide. But basically, a butterfly is one of the most straightforward option structures. This is a balanced fly. So if we finish in the tent, it is going to be profitable. If we finish past, which is not going to happen all that often in this backtest setup, or most commonly, we don't get to the tent or we don't get far enough in the tent, the backtest is going to get stopped out. So obviously the most profitable thing is finishing right at the short strike. And that's kind of the basic structure for a butterfly like this.